Hi, this is CJ with the Patriot Nation podcast, and we are going to be listening to an audio feed of Kyle Rittenhouse facing a violent mob in Kenosha, Wisconsin. They are attacking him, they are chasing him, they are bashing at him. He's clearly outnumbered. He's knocked to the ground. He actually trips or falls to the ground. They surround him. He's being bashed with a skateboard. A guy jumps on him with his legs. He unloads a round at him. He's in a very vulnerable position. A guy brandishes a firearm. He fires at him, hitting him in the arm. He unloads one more round. Looks like in some he unloaded 4 rounds. Those additional rounds are not Kyle. They are actually from the rioters shooting into the air. He immediately retreats towards the police officers. His arms are in the air. His gun is in a gun strap, his AR-15, and his hands are in the air, and he's retreating after repelling the attackers. And the rioters have backed off. A few of them are trying to point him out as the shooter, but not verbalizing that he actually was defending himself. He was on the ground and being surrounded and being beaten on, and at one point having a pistol pointed at him. He showed what looks like was extreme restraint in only unloading 4 rounds. He could have unloaded several if he was filled with rage, but it looks like he just unloaded 4 rounds. The police see him now. Looks like they're seeing there's more to the picture than meets the eye. And moving on to where the shootings took place. Here's more information about the attackers that Kyle Rittenhouse faced on that eventful evening on August 25th. The first person is Joseph Rosenbaum. He actually died after being shot, allegedly by a Kyle. He appears to have been charged by an Arizona grand jury with 11 counts of child molestation and inappropriate sexual activity around children, including sodomy. This man has actually deceased due to his violent exchange with Kyle and being shot by Kyle while Kyle was on the ground. The next one is Anthony M. Huber. He actually was also shot and deceased. He had a disorderly conduct conviction from 2018 as a domestic abuse repeater. This was a misdemeanor at the time. He also gave a Kenosha address, which it was not the case. He actually lived in another state. And this other participant was named Gage Paul Grosskrautz. He actually had a forfeiture case for not showing obedience to officers, as well as one for loud noises. He was convicted of a criminal misdemeanor in 2016 for going armed with a firearm while intoxicated. He also gave a fake address. This one in particular, he actually testified on the witness stand trying to cast himself as a medic or a former medic, saying that he was chasing Kyle to try to help out if people were injured, when actually it looked like he actually was intending to point his pistol at Kyle, and he did at one point, causing a return fire. Kyle hit him in the forearm or the bicep, and they said it pretty much vaporized his bicep. I know it sounds pretty grotesque, but that's what happened. And this guy was on the stand, and at one point they asked him if he pointed his gun at Kyle, and he said he did. And that's when Kyle had shot him. So this is a summary of the 3 attackers that Kyle faced, and this gives us a really helpful and insightful backdrop on what took place on that eventful evening in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Hi, this is CJ with the Patriot Nation podcast, and we are talking about the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. This is an article from USA Today. It goes on to say, tears, yelling, and calls for a mistrial. What a dramatic day could mean for the Kyle Rittenhouse murder trial. This is written by Crystal Hayes and Janine Santucci from USA Today. It goes on to say, tears from an accused killer, an irate judge yelling in the courtroom, and calls for a mistrial. The drama in one of the final days of the Kyle Rittenhouse trial may bring more than just unforgettable scenes. It could also play a role in whether the 18-year-old is convicted of murder. Jurors saw a courtroom moment seldom seen Wednesday in the trial over shootings Rittenhouse committed last year during protest after a black man was wounded by a white Kenosha police officer. They have to emphasize race, don't they? Always injecting what they feel is an intent when they do not know the intent. These reporters are shameless. Anyway, it goes on to say, Rittenhouse, in a high-stakes gamble, took the stand early in his defense. Sobbing at times, he testified he fatally shot 2 men in self-defense. Rittenhouse faces counts of intentional homicide, reckless and attempted homicide, and could face life in prison if convicted. He's accused of fatally shooting Joseph Rosenbaum, 36, and Anthony Huber, 26, along with wounding Gage Gross-Kreutz, 27. Things took a turn as prosecutors questioned Rittenhouse's actions that night, from traveling to the city during, at times, violent protest to being armed with an AR-15 and his plans to protect property during the demonstrations. Circuit Judge Bruce Schroeder stopped prosecutors several times, ordered the jury out of the courtroom, and loudly chastised prosecutor Thomas Binger. The questions posed to Rittenhouse eventually led his attorneys to demand a mistrial with prejudice, a typically rare action that, if granted, could prevent Rittenhouse from being prosecuted again. Legal experts say that while the jury wasn't present for all of the theatrics of Wednesday's events, the day's proceedings could prove crucial in determining his fate, from Rittenhouse bursting into tears to prosecutors testing an irate judge who will determine whether crucial evidence is allowed to be shown in the jury. Guys, this is amazing what has gone on here. The way it has been politicized is disgusting. Now let's take a look at the situation in the context. You have a boy here, and I'm calling him a boy. I know he's 18. Technically, he's an adult in the U.S. justice system. However, at the time of this occurrence, he was 17 years old, technically not an adult. Now, if you look at him, he is not physically mature for his age. He's a late bloomer. And this is a boy who had the intent to go in and help protect and guard business owners and civilians in Kenosha, Wisconsin, during a time of great upheaval and great distress in the form of riots. These riots started because there was a person who was pulled over by the police who fled the police officers, and the police eventually tried to detain him, and he resisted repeatedly. So a firearm was discharged and ended up killing the person resisting the police. This person happened to be black or African American, and during the aftermath of the George Floyd incident, people jumped to conclusions, and this whole concept of police pulling people over and there being a perpetrator who is wounded or deceased turned into a riotous event. That's right. Antifa members, BLM members went on to basically riot throughout Kenosha. Meanwhile, there were calls from political leaders, and as a result, the police departments felt heavily judged and felt that they had to pull back and change aggressive policing tactics to stop perpetrators of crime. And as a result, these rioters rampaged in numerous cities throughout the entire country. And matter of fact, we had more riots that took place as a result of Antifa and BLM gatherings than we had from any other organization during this time frame. It was a time of extreme distress and extreme tension and chaos in many of the nation's cities. So, citizens took it into their own hands to go in and try and stand as a buffer between these riotous individuals and people's businesses, those people being innocent civilians who had nothing to do with any of this distress to begin with. Kyle Rittenhouse is one of those citizens, and he was legally able to carry a firearm in public, and at that time he had an AR-15. This was according to the law. At one point, he is surrounded and chased and outnumbered by a number of riotous individuals.
So after you raised your hands like this, you saw the defendant re-rack the weapon?
Correct.
That's when Rittenhouse fired, hitting Grosskreutz in the right bicep.
It wasn't until you pointed your gun at him, advanced on him, with your gun, now your hands down, pointed at him, that he fired, right? Correct.
Rittenhouse's defense peppered a composed Grosskreutz about what he told police in 2 separate interviews.
You omitted the fact that you ran up on him and had a Glock pistol in your hand, right? You left that out. Correct. Would you think in a case where you are shot that providing the police information that you were actually possessing a firearm at the time would be relevant?
Chasing him to the point where he actually falls to the ground. They surround him. They start to stomp him. One of them has a firearm. At that point, he turns and he's able to unload or discharge a round and then another one. He ends up discharging, I think, 3 to 4 rounds, wounding one person and killing 2 who were surrounding him and attempting to take him down in what many would think would be an attempt to disarm him, that is, take his firearm. And the million-dollar question that I don't hear anybody asking is, what was their intent? Why were they trying to chase Kyle Rittenhouse, who had a loaded AR-15? Why would you chase a man in that situation or a teenager in that situation if you did not intend to use that firearm on him? Why would you chase him and provoke a situation? They clearly provoked a confrontation which became deadly. His perception that they were using deadly force against him prompted him to use deadly force in return. And I think it's fair to say if you have a firearm and the people around you know you have it and they continue to chase you and try to beat on you, it's safe to say they want to take that firearm from you and possibly use it against you. Furthermore, a number of participants in the media have distorted and intentionally altered the video footage of this occurrence. For example, there was a reporter who put together a documentary and she showed footage of Kyle Rittenhouse running, falling to the ground. She paused the video footage but continued to play the audio footage, hearing the different shots from the AR-15, making it look like he was shooting while he was not being attacked.
Stumble and fall to the ground. While on the ground, police say he fires at least 4 shots, striking 2 people. Anthony Huber is shot and lies motionless in the street. Gage Grosskreutz is shot in the arm and appears to be holding a handgun, according to the criminal complaint. Rittenhouse gets up and runs down the street as police arrive at the scene. People in the crowd can be heard yelling. Hey, he just shot them! Rittenhouse raises his hands while his rifle hangs around his torso, and a number of police vehicles drive past him. He walks towards a squad car which is parked near the First United Methodist Church. This is the last time we see him on video ABC News obtained. Rittenhouse was not arrested that night in Kenosha.
This is an extreme manipulation and distortion of what took place that day. Because if you look at the video and audio as it originally occurred together, you actually see that Kyle Rittenhouse only fired when he was tripped or when he fell and he was being stomped and surrounded or attacked by the violent protesters. As a result, he also fired another round when another attacker revealed a pistol, which looked like he was going to use it on Kyle Rittenhouse. In sum, he fired off what looked like 4 rounds. In my opinion, looking at the video and audio footage together, it looked like he showed extreme restraint. Matter of fact, I was actually impressed with the amount of restraint that he showed. He fired just enough rounds to repel his violent attackers, but not more to injure other people who were not attacking him, though he could have done that if he was filled with rage. He went on from there to approach the police, putting his hands in the air and surrendering to them, hoping to escape the violent mob that was continuing to chase him. So the question is posed, is this young man, Kyle Rittenhouse, is he a murderer or is he a person who defended himself according to his rights? I think it's very clear if you look at the video footage and audio footage together that he was defending himself according to his rights. Now, you can ask, why was he there? I think that's a fair question. But then I think from there, you have to start to say, well, Americans have rights according to the Constitution. And during times of extreme turmoil or distress, when the police are not able to stop violent rioters from attacking the local civilians, it is reasonable. It is reasonable for civilians to create a buffer between the riotous participants and the innocent civilians. That's what Kyle Rittenhouse was doing. And in that sense, he is a very patriotic and a very civic young man. I think we should give him credit for that, to be honest with you. Now, would I have my kids do that or not want them to do that? I would not want them to be involved in that type of situation, because when you get into situations where people are riotous, things often can happen that you did not intend to happen. And that's kind of what happened here. However, was he within his rights constitutionally to create a buffer between the rioters, violent protesters, and the civilians' businesses and homes? Yes, he was. Did he act in a way that was brazen or that seemed to stir or show a desire to shoot people aimlessly? No, he did not. Should he be acquitted and be found not guilty? Yes, he should be acquitted and found not guilty. I will continue, based on the footage that I've seen and what I've studied of this case, I will continue to shout and to say, free Kyle Rittenhouse. It'll be interesting to see what goes on next in this ongoing saga. Thank you for joining us, Patriots, for the Patriot Nation podcast. Look forward to talking with you next time. Take care and God bless. If you want a powerful supplement, check out Immune Boost by X Factor Labs. It is packed with powerful and natural nutrients that will help your body to naturally fight and beat viruses, bacteria, better manage allergies, as well as inflammation. It is packed with powerful substances such as quercetin, NAC, which is one of the items that the government is trying to restrict your access to. This substance, NAC, helps to minimize and reduce lung congestion as well as congestion in the sinuses. We also have in this supplement turmeric, D3, zinc, vitamin B, vitamin C, etc. It is packed with substances that I have been taking for the last 15 to 20 years. Now we've packed them into one pill so you can conveniently take the most powerful regimen available over the counter. This is called Immune Boost by X Factor Labs. Check it out at xfactorsolution.com.